to another episode of IBC Guys. So, if there's anything that says we're just a couple of chuckleheads doing a podcast, it's how many times it takes us to actually get the recording going. So, this is our third try. That's why we're laughing. It's just life. So, Michael Bryan, I kind of described in our last attempt. My kids are home. So, for those of you listening, and if you're watching, you may see them in the background there. They've been instructed not to come to Dad's office. But again, just real life people. They don't have school today, so it's a Wednesday. It was too cold, and Mike has given me much grief. Us Michiganders being a little more wussy, for lack of a better term, than the Minnesotans. What do you call people in Minnesota? We're Michiganders. What do you call Minnesota people?
Minnesotans, I guess.
Minnesotans? I don't know.
Yeah,
But it was negative 19. Mike was out getting his eggs in negative 20-degree weather yesterday. I didn't leave the house. It was too cold. So maybe that is true. That we're a little more adverse to the cold temperatures. But I've been talking. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. I set up today. I set up today in front of my fireplace, thinking the temperature yesterday was going to be cold. I'm like, I'm gonna set up and have a fire and stay warm. And now today it's like 40 degrees warmer. I think it's yesterday was minus 19. Now I think it's plus 21. Supposed to get to I think 30 today. So heat wave. So no fire. But anyway, here I sit and I have dogs, and that's what interrupted our previous one. Is dog came in and told me she had to go out to the bathroom. So
Well, you have one particular dog, and she acts like a princess. And that was who needed the attention from what you
yeah,
told me.
she's a diva. So anyway,
all right. Well,
how are
my
you
wife
doing?
came in. Well, I'm good, but I wanted to compliment you on the background. My wife came in and lauded you. You look so good sitting right there in front of your fireplace. So that's true.
Yeah, I've done. All the times we've done this, I've done it in I don't know 3 or
Yeah,
4
you're picking
different.
different. You
I
got to
still have
find
yet
the
to do it
sweet.
in my office, so that's what she keeps asking me. Is like, when are you going to do it in your office? Why are you keep moving around? So I don't know. I just
Show off your
wherever.
library. Mike's got an extensive library in his office. It's got all the good books in there. I'm trying to keep up with you. We just got a new bookcase. So they're not all
Nice.
the famous ones that you have, but the start. Trying to be like Mike. It's just like the ad. Trying to be like Mike. All right, we're digressing.
Say, Dave,
Yeah.
the saying, the poor people have big TVs, rich people have big libraries.
Oh, is that true?
I don't know. Sounds
I
good.
don't know either. I like to read though. So hey, if you're listening and you want to talk some books, I like to read books. Mike's much more of a nonfiction guy, if I can speak for him. I love a good classic. So I'm reading East of Eden, Steinbeck. That's one of my favorite books. I'm reading a different Steinbeck right now. But you name it, I've probably read it. Some Frost, all that kind of stuff. So um, again, that's not why we're here. Today, we are here to talk about IBC topic, essentially family banking legacy. And I'm excited to do that. Before we get into that, though, been getting feedback from several people that I am not doing a good job getting out contact information. So I want to make sure I'm implicit in doing that. So before I jump in, we do have a reason for doing this. That's kind of another question. So why are you doing this? How do I get in contact with you? That's been the major feedback from our episodes thus far. So the reason we do it, we have a passion to help people. That point blank. A good mission statement, good passion statement, whatever you want to call it. It's short and sweet and poignant. We want to help people, and we want to try and do that through three ways. We want to educate people on IBC, get information out to them, have them from that point decide what they want to do with it. It's for me. No, it's not for me. Great. At least you have the information. Two, we want to give real life examples and give relevant information on how IBC is used. So not necessarily what it is, but how it's being used in real life situations. How are people utilizing it? And then 3, we want to give you an avenue to ask questions. That's where we come in. Again, a couple of guys jumping in, hitting record and going for it. We just like talking IBC and we like talking to people. So along those lines, if you would share the podcast, follow, subscribe, give it to your dentist, give it to whomever. If you can help spread the word, the main goal is to educate people. If you can help us do that, we would be very, very appreciative. But 2, we have avenues down in the show notes. Our social medias are there. We're checking those consistently. There's going to be a Calendly link starting now. So if you want to book a call, you're welcome to do that. Phone number. I always forget the phone number, 507-205-2284. If you give that number a call, Mike or I will pick it up. Love to talk to you then and there. Just give us a shout. Finally, emails. My email is dave@familybankingsolutions, plural.com. And Mike's is mike@familybankingsolutions.com. If you want to email us, we can schedule a call. We can, converse over email as well as you can. But just connect with us. We want to talk with you about IBC. It's pretty much what we do all day, every day, and we enjoy doing it. All right. Make sure it's in there. Logistics are out of the way, Mike. Family banking legacy. You and I we discussed a little bit what we wanted to do starting this thing off. And you brought up a great, is it a proverb? Would you call it that? Not necessarily from the Bible, but shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves. Can you describe that for us and kind of give us the mindset which we're approaching this?
Well, when you talk about building a financial family legacy or family banking legacy, we're obviously talking about wealth from a financial standpoint. And the shirt sleeve, I don't know if it's a Chinese proverb. I mean, it goes back thousands of years where it's tough to keep money through more than 3 generations. And the shirt sleeve, I believe and there's, when you look it up, there's different types of definitions, but basically it's the shirt sleeves are, you're out in the sun working in the fields. I mean, you're a laborer and you need the shirt sleeves because, like you're not going to get sunburn or something. And then that generation, works their butt off and accumulates wealth and then passes that on to the next generation, where a lot of times, it improves, it increases the family wealth, but eventually the following generation, they're not educated on how to run a business, how to accumulate wealth, how to be a good steward of money, and eventually just they squander it all. And then by that next generation, even though grandfather might have been super wealthy, they're back to the shirt sleeves in the fields as a laborer because the wealth of the family is gone. So that's the shirt sleeve definition, if you will. Wealth generally doesn't last more than 3 generations.
Oh, Mike asked me for this, but I always like to look stuff up. So what did I do, Mike? I looked up some data related to this. Yeah, I looked it up. So Forbes did a study. So they did, I think it was about 1,000 people that had $3 million in investable assets or more. So pretty good subset of people. And in that survey, they found that 70% of family wealth is lost by the second generation. And then by the third generation, 98% of it is gone. So that's the shirt sleeves mentality. So they found that to be very true. They also found that 78% of parents feel like their kids don't have the necessary responsibility to handle the inheritance that's going to be left to them. So you could talk all you want about that, but the goal today is to kind of, one, discuss the topic itself, but then 2, discuss how IBC fits into that. But those numbers I think are telling. And I mean, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves is not something I had necessarily heard implicitly until you told me about it. But thinking through different families that I know, situations I've heard of, it's absolutely true. I think my guess is if you're listening, You probably can relate to that in some capacity as well with a family you've known or a story you've heard. Um, I don't know. My mind goes to like lottery winners. If you get $500 million, what does that look like 3 generations from now? So the topic itself is I think something worth exploring. With who we are, with who Mike and I like to may align ourselves behind in terms of faith, we went to the Bible. So Proverbs 13:22 was a verse that stood out to us. So I'm going to read it here. It says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous." So the context, chapter 13 in Proverbs, it's a contrast for each verse. This versus this versus this. So the inheritance is absolutely a wealth component. But Mike, I'd like to get your thoughts. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteousness. So why did that verse come to mind? Why is it something you've talked with me about?
Well, I think starting out. So let's go back in my life. Let's say 20 years ago. Yeah, let's say 20 years ago. Well, Dave, let me ask you a question. If let's say you know of someone in your community there, a friend of yours that's married and has 4 kids, and you find out that that friend of yours, let's say, ran off and skipped the country with his secretary and left his wife and kids with absolutely nothing. He's gone. He left the country. There's no child support. There's no money. That wife is left to raise those 4 kids all by herself. What would your thoughts be on what kind of guy that dude is that just left his wife?
Yeah, it'd be tough not to view him as kind of a scumbag, for lack of a better
Yeah,
term.
total jerk, right? That's just, I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
low of lows. Okay. However, what if that same individual was a great husband and father and just happened to get, let's say, killed by a drunk driver and left his wife and those 4 kids to fend for herself with no financial legacy, with no protection, like we're talking about here? What are your thoughts on that guy?
In- Intent is very different. Reality is very similar. So, I mean, their intent was very different, but the situation their families found itself in, his family found himself in, themselves in, there you go, is very similar. They need to figure it out, and that's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, and I mean, basically the situation is the same. The financial situation is exactly the same, except the situation where he gets killed by a drunk driver. Now the widow, now she's got to cover funeral expenses in addition to figuring out how she's going to keep the house and take care of the kids and provide for the family, et cetera, et cetera. So I look back on that, going back to my statement of 20 years ago. I don't need life insurance. I'm healthy. I'm going to live forever. That's just a waste of money. I don't need any of that. However, if I would have gotten killed by a drunk driver, I have 4 boys. I would have left my wife in that situation to fend for herself, figure out how she's going to, keep the farm and feed the kids and provide for them. And same type of situation never occurred to me 20 years ago. So, it's a big deal. I mean, I think society looks at those 2 scenarios very differently, but financially they're exactly the same. So the idea is to protect the family. When we talk about a multi-generational legacy or family banking legacy, we're talking about protecting the family, the kids, the grandkids for generations to come.
So let's tie that then. So I think that was very well stated, and it's I mean, it's applicable to everyone. It's not a question of are we going to die? It's a matter of when. And most gentlemen I know genuinely care about their families. So they want to have everything they can in place when that happens. But the question I think begs, this is an IBC podcast. So how does the infinite banking concept tie into the topic we're talking about today?
Well, first, I think let me clarify on when people think of generational wealth, they're thinking, oh, leaving, tons of money to, I'm not in a position to do that, or that's not me, whatever the case is. One of my favorite quotes is from Warren Buffett. And he says, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago.
Good.
So when you plant a tree, it takes years and years for that tree to grow up big enough to bear fruit, to have enough shade so you can sit in the shade. You're not going to get anything immediate gratification wise from that acorn or that little seedling that you plant. So it's thinking ahead of protecting the next generation. So there's that. Secondly, again, going back to people thinking that, well, I can't do that. I'm living month to month and paying bills and just trying to get through life. What we do is we help you create wealth without having you spend anything, changing your spending habits whatsoever. The same things that you're doing now, we just change the way that that's done and help you create wealth for your family and for the next generation. Yes, if you want to save more, that's going to help the cause, obviously. But most people, they're saving X amount and they're spending. They think, well, for me to do this, I got to reduce my standard of living. I have to start spending less and saving more in order to accumulate this wealth. That's really not the case. Yes, that of course will help, but we teach you and help you identify the ways that wealth is leaving your family that you're currently already spending, and changing the way that that flows and create wealth back to your family. I know that kind of says a lot there, but that's exactly what we do.
And two thoughts come to mind. One, I can't remember if I said it in the beginning of this podcast or a different one, but IBC, it's not a question of if it can fit into what you're doing, it's how it's going to. And you mentioned it. It's monetizing the money you're already spending. It's not a matter of changing your spending habits, but running it through this cash flow system to start reversing some of the money that's going out of your family. You're going to pay your car payment. Lots of people have car payments. You're going to do that anyway. Put in an IBC policy and then pay it, and that money stays in the ledger growing. So that's one thought. I kind of want to then go and add to the thought of IBC and the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves mentality. We have, so in our family, as a personal application, we have policies on each of our kids. As they have grown up, Lila is our oldest, but we've talked through how she can utilize the policy to do stuff she's already doing. So Lila loves to, during the fall and the spring season, her brothers play baseball, and she loves to bake cookies and Rice Krispie treats, make popcorn. She does all sorts of stuff, and she'll go and sell those things at the baseball games. And she'll come home, we charge her for the ingredients. She'll spend $5 or $6, and then she'll come home with $25. I mean, she's being an entrepreneur, which is great. But what we've already started to discuss with her is how she can run that through her IBC policy and how that money stays in the ledger. But then she can use that, borrow against it, and buy more ingredients and start building that wealth. So the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves mentality is discussing how IBC can be used by your kids as they grow up. And then at some point, I can transfer ownership of the policy from me to them or to someone else or a trust or whatever, and they can continue to benefit from that, but they know how to use it at that point. So there are aspects to educating your kid that we want to help with as well, and I think are important as kids grow up to know how to handle money IBC certainly fits into that. And to Mike's point, if that tree's already planted, it's only going to continue to get bigger. And it'd be a lot of fun to sit under that tree together and reap the benefits. So I just kind of wanted to add that in. Any thoughts on that, Mike? I mean, I know you've done similar things with your family, not to put you on the spot by any means, but any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different way of thinking. One of the benefits, obviously, since we're using this life insurance policy as the vehicle for our cash flow system, I mean, one of the benefits is a tax-free death benefit, which ensures that that financial legacy will take place tax-free. So it's a huge benefit. It's not what we necessarily focus on from an IBC standpoint, but obviously that benefit is there. And then, like you mentioned, to go multiple generations to beat that the shirt sleeve curse, I guess, if you will, there has to be that financial literacy. There has to be that education. And another quote that I kind of mean, but I love the quote because it's very true. And that is, stupid people can have family. Stupid people can have money, but stupid people can never have family money. So, and what that means is, I mean, obviously anybody, I'd say stupid is harsh, but someone that doesn't have, financial education. I'm just quoting the quote. Okay. I didn't write it. Someone that doesn't have financial literacy can have children, and someone that doesn't have financial literacy can have family money. So, meaning, you see it all the time with trust fund babies. Dad had all kinds of money and left him a trust fund, and it pays them so much every year or whatever. They have no financial literacy, but they have money. So stupid people can have family and stupid people can have money, but to have family money, meaning multi-generational money, you have to have financial literacy. So I think the education part is extremely important to overcome that the shirt sleeve curse, to overcome that 3 generations. And if you implement this financial banking concept, it basically covers all those bases. I know we're kind of hitting all this from 10,000 feet here, and we can go into very specific details on each one of these topics, but this is the best way to do it. It goes back to the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers and the two extremes and how they did it. The Vanderbilt family squandered all their money away in less than 3 generations. I mean, probably one of the most famous, I guess, testaments to that curse is that they were the richest family in the United States and basically just squandered it all away in less than 3 generations. And then you have the Rockefellers, also one of the richest families in the history of the United States. In the Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, in that conversation, in today's money, they'd be right in the same boat, maybe even a little bit more wealth-wise. And yet they built a multi-generational family legacy using this same IBC concept. Their company, so to speak, that handles all this is called the Family Office. It's famous. You can Google it, Dave. You can look it up.
Okay.
There's some books people have written on it. But it ensures that multi-generational financial legacy that people can overcome this shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve curse.
Yeah. So I mean, my mind goes to my family and how much I want that for them. So I'm sure it's resonating with the people that are listening and watching as well. I think everyone wants that for their families. And that's a broad statement, I know, but I think that's true. So application, Mike, what should people go out and do? Family banking legacy, IBC. Thoughts on what people should do? I have some ideas in mind, but do you have anything?
Well, what people should do is the same thing you and I did. I mean, uh, let's just say grandfathers, or, well, I say our, My father, my grandfather, I mean, they left me zero. So I am kind of the patriarch in this mission on the financial legacy is I have to start it. So I would say what can people do is start it. Go out and plant that tree. You can't have shade or have these things unless you get started. It doesn't matter how big, you put an acorn in the ground, not very big, but in 100 years, hopefully it'll be this massive oak tree. It takes time, but I would say get started regardless of what the amount is. It really doesn't matter. It's just get started. You can build that over time. You can plant more trees, so to speak. You can get additional policies. Like Dave, you mentioned you have multiple policies on your family, your wife, your kids, yourself. You can start building this system over time, but just get started.
Well, that I couldn't have said it better myself, and that's where I was going. An added thought that I did have on that was we would love to help your family do it. So let's say you're in a situation that you find yourself in. So our listener has 22-year-old son or daughter. They're just starting off, just starting getting a job. Give Mike and I a call and let's set up a banking, an IBC family banking system. However you'd like it, it can fit into your world. It's not a matter of if it can. Doesn't There's no like set minimum. There's not any of that, but let's get started and let's work through it together. So that's where Mike's and I's passion comes in. Is we want to help educate. So it's not a matter of can I figure this out? That's where Mike and I come in. But to Mike's point, let's get started and let's learn together so the shirt sleeves mentality doesn't manifest itself in your family over the next few generations. Let's learn to it together. Let's start young. Like I said, my oldest is 11. My kids have their policies. By the time they're 40, those things are going to be very mature. And my hope and prayer is that they will know how to use them, but it will also bless their families as they hopefully go out and bless others as they do what they do in their daily lives. But get started now. Let's do it together. Let's do it as a family. This whole family banking legacy mentality takes more than one person. Family isn't a single person all the time. Most of the time, it's not. So let's go out and let's do it together. And that's where Mike and I's passion comes in. Um, so think that's it, Mike. Unless I'm forgetting something, am I forgetting anything about what we wanted to discuss today?
No, we covered. We covered a lot of ground here on a very kind of, like I said, like maybe a
Yeah,
10,000
very.
foot level where, I hope no one's looking at this like, wow, that sounds great, but there's nothing detailed and specific about this concept at all, and we don't have time for that on this podcast. But the idea is just thinking about creating a multi-generational financial legacy and what that means. And I think that one of the things I know with, my family and friends and people, clients of mine, one of the big concerns they have is that sounds fantastic. And, oh my gosh, I want to get started, but I'm scared to get started because I don't know enough about it to know if I do the right thing next month, next year, 5 years down the road. So what we do, what our agency does is we help you through that process. So this is a kind of a lifelong journey that I have clients that I help set up their banking system via a policy. And, let's say 8 years ago, and I still work with that family on not a daily basis, on, a monthly, yearly basis for sure, on things that come up financially and how to work this process, how to create the velocity, what things that we should do with their bank and what things we should not do with their bank, and all the kind of getting into the weeds of the mechanics of the policy. So don't worry necessarily about that. That's what we do. That's what I enjoy doing, and I know Dave does as well, is helping you through that process. I think on previous podcasts we've said that it's kind of like, buying a plane and flying the plane. I like showing you how to fly that's the fun part, is flying this thing, is using this banking system. Yes, we have to design and build the plane and buy the plane and kind of get that out of the way. And that's kind of getting you inside your family banking system and starting the policy. But after that, the fun part begins. So don't think that you have to go at it alone. We help you do this. Again, it doesn't matter, what scale you come into. I have a lot of people that could get, 10 times the banking system that I have. But no, they're super skeptical and they want to start small, which is awesome. I was very skeptical when I started out. So it doesn't matter, like we mentioned with the Warren Buffett quote, just plant that first tree. Doesn't matter the size, we'll help you water it. We'll help you, we'll help you grow it. We'll help you plant more seeds, build your financial legacy. So
You got all sorts of analogies going today.
yeah, I don't know. That sounded kind of cheesy, but I mean, that's what we do. People think that, man, I want to do this, but I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up. I don't know enough. Well, you're not going to know enough. There's always something that you're not going to know, or concerns you have, or things come up. But that's where we come in.
They're not going to mess it up either. But I'll add this: planes. Use a plane example. Planes can be expensive. I was more of a tricycle kind of guy, but I still didn't. I still needed somebody to build me my tricycle, and that's where you helped me in that. So if you're a tricycle kind of person, let's start little. Let's start with a tricycle, and then you build up to a car, and then you start buying your airplanes. So I say that tongue in cheek, but there is no reason not to do it. And again, go out and do your own research. Don't do it just because Dave and Mike said so. But I would ask that if you have questions, you give us a chance to talk with you about them. And know that when you build your tricycle, we're going to be here to help you ride it. Then we'll graduate to a 2-wheel and then do a car, and then we'll jump into that airplane as you see the benefits that IBC can provide. Again, today was a broad perspective. Oftentimes, the legacy death benefit side of this gets kind of put off to the side, for lack of a better term, and we discussed the mechanisms of the cash flow policy. Today was more of a mentality, keeping your family as safe as you can make them. And IBC is, I think, the best way to go about doing that through a whole life policy in terms of insurance. So, Mike, we are almost out of time. I appreciate you jumping on today. Hopefully, y'all can tell I like Mike Stevens. He's got a lot to offer. I got to get him telling his Mike Stevens stories. So he's got a lot of good stories. So maybe we'll do a Mike Stevens story session. You can tell he doesn't want to do that. His arms are crossed. Maybe not. But we'll get him out sometime. But he's a great dude. I enjoy spending time with him. So Mike, thanks for jumping on today. If you would give us a call. Again, that phone number, I got to get it back up on my notes here. 507-205-2284. My email is dave@familybankingsolutions.com. Mike's is mike@familybankingsolutions.com. In the show notes, so if you click, I think there's a little arrow down. All of our social media stuff is in there. If you feel comfortable contacting us there, that's great. There's also a Calendly link in there. So if you want to schedule a call, you put yourselves in our calendar and we'll make sure we get in contact with you. We'd love to talk with you. It's something we enjoy doing. So please that's genuine. Please take us at our word for that. But let's start talking IBC and let's start building that family banking legacy in your own lives. All right. Mike, again, good talking with you. We'll catch everybody again next time.